Hey guys, today we're going to be coloring the backgrounds for our mandalas and we're going to be painting circles. But first, we have to put our name on our paper. So everybody write your first name, and we're also going to write our class code. So that's going to be whatever color day you are. You're also going to put your grade level, and then you're going to put your teacher's name. So go ahead and do that, and once you're done, you're going to flip your paper over. That way, it's on the back side. Now you're ready to paint. So I'm getting water on my paintbrush, and I'm going to start to wake up my paint. I'm going to swirl in a circle to wake it up, and I'm going to start with a dot in the middle of my page. I started with red. You don't have to. You can pick whatever color you want. To save paint, I knew I was going to use red later, so I decided to make my red circle there too. So this is just so I don't have to clean my brush as much. You can do this, or you can work your way out. That way you have a perfect circle. That's totally up to you. Now I'm washing my brush off, and I'm grabbing my orange, and now I'm going to do my next layer. So remember, every time you change color, you are going to wash your brush and then go ahead and wake up that color as well. But we're washing our brushes in between, and now I'm going to speed up the clip to save us some time and make sure you have enough time to paint. But remember, I am washing my brush in between, and this is sped up. You do not have to paint this fast. So I've already used my warm colors, but you can use whatever colors you want. Now that I'm done with my warm colors, I am changing to cool colors, my greens, my blues, and my purples. And I'm going to have my cool colors on the outside. But again, you can choose whatever colors you want. If you want to stick with warm colors, that's totally fine. It gets a little tricky around here because my circles start to go off the page. So I just have to think about where the circles would go. And if you paint a little bit on the table, that's okay. So as you can see, I'm making this really dark, and I'm trying my best to imagine where my circles would go off the page. Now I'm going to put blue in between these so it looks like I have rings. And now I'm all done. You can see I'm finished and my background is ready. Now we are going to start doing our plate and making sure that we have 1/4 the size of our paper. So you can go ahead and take your paper to the dry rack to dry and get ready to start sketching on your plate. We're going to take a pencil and we're going to make sure that it is radial symmetrical. So it's going to be 1/4 of a circle. And I'm going to draw light lines to give me a little bit of guidance as I'm making my patterns. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way through the plate so my plate is symmetrical. Now that I have my guidelines all drawn out, it's time to start sketching my pattern. So you can see right here, I start by carving, and you don't want to start by carving because if you make a mistake, that is in your plate forever. So we're going to start drawing very lightly with our pencil. That way, our pattern is a sketch, and if we like that sketch, Then we can make it deep into the plate, and that way it is in the plate forever. Since I did like this sketch, I am going to start carving with my dull pencil, pressing this into the plate. This is going to make my stamp or my plate. That way the ink doesn't go into these grooves and it's going to leave a really cool stamp. I also thought it would be really cool to have these spikes not show up in paint at all, so I'm going to carve the inside completely with my pencil. As you can see, I'm pressing down and filling in these spikes all the way, so all of that black that I'm making right now will not get ink in it at the end. So to save some time, I went ahead and I'm going to speed this up, and I'm going to start carving my plate all the way. That way you can see all the different patterns that I use, and you can use any single pattern you want. If you have an idea, you can put it onto your plate. So I'm doing this in a sped up version. I want you all to take your time and experiment with different patterns. As you can see, I drew a line down the middle in my head, and I'm going to copy whichever I do on both sides like a reflection. That way it is symmetrical on either side. So if I put a dot right here, I'm going to put those 3 dots, and I'm going to put those same 3 dots on the other side. So I'm referencing my right side and making sure it looks the same on my left side. Again, that's just to make this look symmetrical, and that is one step that we're going to take to make our mandala look amazing. So our stamp is all done, and the last thing that we're going to do to help us is put an arrow on the back side. That way we always know where the middle of our stamp is. So I'm going to draw pretty hard and make this arrow pointing towards the middle so I don't lose track while I'm making my stamps. And since we're here on the back side, go ahead and write your name on the back. That way we know whose stamp is whose. Today we are going to be inking our plate. So this is our plate, and this is called a brayer. We are going to rub some ink across our styrofoam plate, and then we're going to use the brayer to roll over this ink. So once we get the ink ready, we're going to use the brayer and roll. And as you can see, I'm rolling forward and then lifting up and then pulling back. So roll forward, lift up, pull back, and keep on doing that to make sure you get ink on the entire part of the brayer. Now we can put the ink onto the plate. So we're going to roll and then lift up and keep rolling over the plate until that plate looks all the way covered. As you can see, I have one little bitty fingertip on the plate to keep it steady. And if you get some on the paper, that's okay. That's why we have our table covered with paper. So it is a messy process. You are going to get dirty, but it is very worth it because it looks amazing. This is going to be our first practice print. So we're just going to take a blank piece of paper and we're going to set it right on top. Then we're going to use our fingers and rub in circles all over the plate. As you can see, the plate starts to show up. That way you know where to rub. We're going to rub all over the plate, and that is putting the ink onto the blank piece of paper. Once you feel comfortable, you think you got it all the way covered, you can slowly peel your paper off away from the plate. And there you have it. This is your first print. Congratulations, guys, you did it. You can take your plate and line it up with your print to get an idea of what your mandala is going to look like. That's going to look so cool. I'm so excited to see all of these mandalas. And now you're going to make 3 more test prints before we move forward to our final mandala. So go ahead and get started making your test prints. As you can see, I did lots of test prints. I did 4, and now I am ready to move on to my final print. So you're going to keep your plate in front of you, but you're going to set your test prints aside. So you can keep those or not, but now we're moving on to our final product. You remember our background we painted? We're going to stamp on that. So go ahead and move that out of the way. We're going to ink up our plate again. Using the brayer, we are going to roll that ink onto it. Once it's really loaded with ink, we're going to ink our plate. Remember, if you get the background dirty, that's okay. This is a messy process, but we're going to try our best to keep our hands clean. Once you have your ink on the plate, you are going to lift it up and you are going to place it on your background. So go ahead and find that corner. Remember the arrow on the back side. Point it right to the center. Line it up, take your time, and then press down. We're going to take an extra piece of paper and put it on top of our plate. That way we have a lot of room to rub with our fingers. So we're going to place that paper down and rub with our finger. Remember doing circles and trying to rub all of the plate down, getting all of that ink onto our background. Once you think you have your ink all the way down, you can take off that paper and very carefully remove your plate to reveal your first print. This is 1/4 of your mandala. Good job. Now you're going to do this 3 more times. So again, I'm going to speed this up. We are going to be inking our plate, placing it down, and rubbing it down into our mandala. So this is going to be sped up. Don't work this fast. Take your time so your final mandala looks amazing. As you can see, I rubbed a lot to make sure I got my ink down, and this is my second plate. As you can see, it lines up really well with my first one, and now we're going to do it 2 more times. Three down, 1 to go, and as you can see, that's what our mandala is going to look like. So we're going to do this 1 more time. Remember, 4 times in total, taking our time because this is sped up. You do not need to work this fast. Making sure our arrow is pointed to the center, paper on top, and rubbing it in to get that final print. And we are all done, guys. Congratulations, you made your first mandala.